then. Okay, so you got my announcement there. So this Saturday, right? Who will be there this Saturday? All right, so most of you, all right, that's it. You busy, right? Are you upstate or what?
Yeah, I'm on our volleyball team and we're gonna be in Pittsburgh this weekend.
No problem. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, is that national contest or just regional?
It's like one of our regional contests. We have one of the teams in our conference is in Pittsburgh in downtown Pittsburgh. So we have to travel up there every other year to play them.
Oh, okay, that's nice. And for the whole weekend, good luck then. So the rest, since you will be there, right, on this Saturday, right? So please, you can get the yoga mat at Walmart, right? It's about $10-15, right? You have the yoga mat at home? No? Okay. And also bring your own lunch, all right? So that we can do the eating meditation. Okay? Yeah. And you know the room, right? 127, right? 127, 129. Let me check here. Oh, so sorry, I messed up. Should be 129, 127, not 129. Okay, let me change this. Yeah. University Center North. Mm, mm. Okay. Any question before we move on? So how your meditation, Brandon?
I think I'm finally starting a couple months in, but finally starting to do it. I have been making my therapist like study up on this too, so she can help me with this. So I try it on my own a couple times a week, and like it's okay. But I also try to do it for a couple minutes in therapy, and it's been pretty good. I my thoughts are slowly going away, so that's what I've been working towards, and it's been helping.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, step by step, right? Scarlett, how your meditation?
I feel like they're improving. Again, I feel like it's a very slow improvement, but I do think that I'm getting better and that I actually am seeing an impact in my life. Especially, work and school, it's getting more stressful as the semester goes on, and I think that this meditation is really helping that.
Wow, you see that's great. That's great. You can see the impact, right? Look, could you recognize that impact meditation on your life now?
I definitely have been able to notice an impact on like just what mindfulness has done throughout like my day to day, um, like just how I go about day to day, and it's also been getting a lot better. I've been um, coming out of some struggles pretty recently, so
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Jesse, you feel that kind of impact yet?
It's definitely been getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope it keeps getting better because right now it's definitely like it's a mood booster for sure, but I'm still waiting for that like aha moment.
Okay.
I think I'm getting there though.
Good. That's nice. Emily, how is that, Emily?
Um, it's definitely I try and use it a lot whenever I'm like really stressing out, and it helps a lot to calm down.
Mm. You have some kind of positive impact in your studying, or how is that?
Um, I think like especially at work,
Mhm.
it gets really hectic, and it helps me to kind of clear my mind a little bit so I can go back and do everything I need to do in a better state of mind.
Okay.
So it helps.
Amber, you have an improvement, right?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I'm able to, whenever I get stressed either by work or school or studying, I feel like I'm better able to rein in my anxiety and just reassure myself that I'll be fine and everything will be okay, and to just focus on what I'm doing at the current moment, like work or school or homework or anything like that. And also whenever I feel like I'm slowly like starting to get stressed and it's like giving me a headache and I feel like I can't do much more, I make myself take a break and just take a moment to focus on my breath, focus on the present moment, and just help calm myself down. And it's really helping me with that.
That's right. Lexi, you have like an improvement.
Yeah, I feel like I have been able to better use this like day to day instead of just using it like whenever I'm meditating to calm down like at that moment. I feel an improvement like throughout the day of being able to like recognize emotions and then identify them and be able to let them like move past me faster than I would have before because there's like, there's certain situations that would bother me a lot and it would take like a lot of my like mental space up. But now I feel like I'm able to identify that that is like about to happen and then kind of help it move on faster.
Mhm. Yeah, that's wonderful. You see that learning is not enough, right? We need to put in practice so that we could feel the pettiness of meditation to our life. All right, that's great to hear. All right, let's move on then. All right, let's start with okay. I see. Jesse, you have number one, right? Can you read the question, please, Jesse?
Yes. Number one was describe how reflective mindfulness practices and the integration of mindfulness communication may yield positive parent-child relationships.
Okay.
And I, in my paper, mainly discussed, well, reflective mindfulness and mindful awareness are two very similar concepts. Reflective mindfulness is, of course, the idea of becoming aware with ourselves and understanding our state of mind and body without harsh judgment and with a moment-to-moment awareness. And it will both really encourage you to look inward at yourselves and at your emotions and not be embarrassed or frustrated and just be open to what those feelings that are sometimes unpleasant are telling you instead of getting upset with yourself for being upset, which of course will just make you upset. And then you'll be more upset that you're upset. And it's just a vicious cycle. And mindful awareness is, like I said, a pretty similar concept. It's the idea of being present moment to moment and noticing your emotions as they come without being completely overwhelmed by them. And both of these, in the articles that we read, there were some studies done on how that impacts the relationship between a parent and a child. And several studies showed that when mindfulness was implemented to a parent's everyday routine, parenting satisfaction and family function increased, and like tension between family members decreased. And when they do incorporate mindful parenting techniques, they are less likely to take out their frustrations or negative emotions on their children in ways such as like the silent treatment or like verbal degradation or physical abuse, because now they're more aware of their emotions and they're more adept at understanding what puts them in these negative moods. And they can either avoid getting there in the first place or it's easier for them to shift gears and get out of that either depressive state or anxious state, whatever they're in. And when parents are mindful, they're more likely to respond to their children in a warm, caring, and compassionate way, which has been proven to be positive for adolescent development. And it's been shown to lead to improved parenting skills, better child management skills, and stronger and more positive relationships with their children. And also, when parents incorporate these healthy habits into their lifestyle instead of some of the more unhealthier ones, such as drug addiction, alcoholism, or risky sexual behaviors, their children are, of course, children follow the leader when they're younger. So if as a parent you are involved in all these self-destructive habits, it's way more likely that your children are going to be as well. So it helps kids be become more adapted and well-rounded in their adolescence and in their adulthood if they see their parents with these healthy habits.
Mhm.
And there's one more thing I said. Oh, and mindfulness has been proven to decrease behavioral problems even in children with like diagnosed behavioral issues, such as ADHD, or if they're on the autism spectrum. And it can even, and healthy parenting was even a factor that can help prevent the development of childhood psychopathy, which I thought was really interesting because you hear about all these serial killers and how all of them had terrible parents.
Mhm.
All right, I think that's about it that I got for that discussion question.
Okay, that's great then. Thank you. Brandon, you have one, please, Brandon?
Yeah, so piggybacking off what Jesse just said, I'm really big into true crime, so I like watching those cases and hearing about things. And more often than not, a lot of people who do horrible crimes are those who don't come from the best family backgrounds. And I know myself, like I came from a pretty disruptive family background. And I think especially for me, growing up in rural Indiana as during my adolescence, I was in the closet. I had not come out yet. And I think just having that understanding, like the article we talked about yesterday was talking about effective listening. So using mindfulness with parenting can help with all the things, building that relationship between the parent and the child. But I think having that understanding at such a young age could have really helped me, and like it could help a lot of people. Something that the article said is that it helps with parenting and parent training, and they found that by using the programs that they did in their method section, that it helped improve the effectiveness of interventions. One thing I question about the article is that in their method section, they mentioned that they only did they studied families from a small towns in central Pennsylvania, and they did all of the families except one were European American, so not a lot of racial diversity there. So I'm curious to see if they would have done another study but made it more ethnically and racially diverse to see how that would have helped. But I really liked how they already used some of these techniques that they already knew to help with parenting, but then by incorporating mindfulness practices, even just for an hour each week, it helped with that parent-child bond.
Mm-hmm. So hope you still single, right?
What?
Hope you are still single, or just you have family, you have your own family yet?
I do not. And then a lot of my family has passed away. Like both my parents are gone. And so like I think after reading this article, if I ever decide to become a parent, which I'm thinking about it,
Mhm.
I'm going to try to not parent my children the way my parents parented me. They tried, they did the best with what they had, but I wish like they had known about some of these strategies.
Not easy. So again, hope you're still single, right? Anyone you don't have, Emily, you have family yet or no? You're still single, right? Okay.
I don't have a family now.
Oh, really? Oh, so you guys have younger siblings? How young? How young are they, Lexi?
My brother's 16.
Okay. Jesse, how young are they?
My sister is 17 and my brother just turned 15 the day before yesterday.
That's nice. So most of the time, your parents deal with them, with the teen, or you don't get involved with teaching them or guiding them much?
Eh,
No.
you gotta step in sometimes.
Okay. Look, you have younger brother and sister?
Well, funny enough, I'm actually a triplet.
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
hmm
They go to same go to IUS too or different?
I have two brothers, yeah,
Oh,
and
wow.
those are the only siblings I have.
Oh, okay. Wow, that's nice. So you don't need to concern much about the younger one, right? Right. Amber and Scarlett, you have the younger one or no?
I
No.
have a brother who's 21. So yeah, I'm the youngest one in my family.
All right. So anyway, so again, if you have younger siblings, that's your experience, right? To deal with them, to deal with the teenager problem, right? It just happen everywhere. And also, you see that in the articles mentioned clearly how the parents handle the children whenever they mess up, when they misbehave by themselves. And yeah, I agree with you, Brandon. They need to do more research to different groups, right? Not only Caucasian, but also Hispanic, Asian, and so forth, to get the overall um, mm, experience or statistic about how the parents can apply mindfulness practice into their parenting. And again, most of you or all of you will be parents sooner or later, right? Late 20, 30, whenever. So I think this kind of articles or starting is very helpful, right? Scarlett is helpful for you, right? To know, be prepared ahead of time how to be parents in the future, not now, but in the future when you have the little one. Because some of they're too young, they don't know how to behave. As a parent, you need to know all kind of tools to guide them, to teach them. Yeah, yeah, in the mindful way. It's not easy. So Casey and Brandon, what you take out this article, the article that you just read about the parenting?
Essentially, what I gathered from reading the articles was if you implement positive parenting techniques and just positive mindful habits into your daily routine, that your child will pick up on that, and the people around you will pick up on that.
Yeah.
And I think back to what Brandon was saying about they mainly did white family or European families. I think the other article, or it may have been the same one, but I think it was the other article, said they only studied mothers.
Oh, yeah,
Which was,
probably in general, the mother take care of the children more than the father, right?
yeah, but I thought that was fascinating
Yeah,
because
so,
like, would the results have been the same if
that's
they?
be a good preparation for you guys. Yeah. Okay, so before we move on, let me share with you this thing. I think in the mindful parenting, in the articles, the first article on the here. First, right? This is what they call mindful parents, the MIP scale. The first present center attention during the parent interaction. It's so simple, but it's not easy. Sometimes the parents just like to watch movie and let the children to play video games so that they won't bother them, right? Or whenever the children ask something, they just provide them. So they don't, in the views, they just like to enjoy their life, right? Instead of spend time with their own children, right here, right? I find myself listen to my child with one ear because I'm busy or thinking about something else. That's what it's about. Number two, present centers emotional awareness during parenting interaction. How the parents notice their behavior, their mood, as well as the child mood too. Number three, openness and non-judgmental receptivity to their adolescent articulation of thought and display emotion. Right? They have to listen carefully what the children want to say, want to express. And sometimes the parents just use the power to cut off, right? The children thoughts or they don't want to listen, there's just way more friction. Number 4, ability to regulate their activities to their adolescent normative behavior. So if they are mindful, they know how to control their emotion whenever the children run wild, right? Not easy. And sometimes the parents may pound the table with their angry action, and they scare the children too. So as parents, it's not easy. You have to guide them. That's a big responsibility on your part. But if you're mindful, you can lead them, you can guide them. And of course, like Jesse mentioned, right, the parents should set a good example, right? If they drink, if they smoke, right, it's a terrible model for their own children. But if you do meditation, if you remain calm, if you have, even when you have dispute with your spouse, can stay within your boundary, not let the children to hurt, right? Or don't need to persuade the children to side with you, right? To condemn other spouse, right? That's happened to almost every families, even to our parents, right? Okay, so it's not easy. All right, so that's great, and it's pure good preparation for you guys. All right, so number 2, Lexis. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Number 2 is explain how mindfulness practice coupling with qualities of attention and awareness are beneficial in helping parents who may be hesitant to change their negative parenting behaviors and their relevant relationship with their children. So the paper that I read that I mostly used for this question was looking at how the relationship between the negative parenting and depressive symptoms. So they listed 4 specific negative parenting behaviors that are correlated to these symptoms, and they were being withdrawn or disengaged from parenting their kids, having low levels of positive parenting, having poor supervision of their kids or not monitoring them well enough, and being inconsistent with disciplining their children. And one of the things for the first one, which was being more withdrawn with their kids, was whenever the kids got older, the parents would start paying less and less and less attention to them. For the low levels of, I thought this was interesting because this is something that we were talking about in the first question. And it was one of the things that was seen was that there was a significant factor for those who had low levels of positive parenting, and it was seen in mostly Caucasian families that were in the study. And the different, I'm trying to pull this up, the different ethnicities that were included in the study were Caucasians, African American people, Latino, Hispanic people, and then there was another section of people who just didn't answer. So it was seen that there was a big correlation with ethnicity for that one. And then there was poor monitoring or supervision of their children, and it was correlated very highly with if that person had a partner in the home that was living with them. So if they had a partner, then they were more likely to pay attention to their kids more often. And then the last one was had an increase in how inconsistent they were with their disciplining. So as these kids got older, they were not disciplined as often as they should have been. It was very inconsistent. So then they connected this and they took it and they connected it to how mindfulness could impact and mediate these behaviors. And they talked about how depression can impair a person's ability to parent because they're not able to like focus on the present. So since they're not able to focus on the present, then it impacts their ability to be present with their kids and actually take part in their kids growing up. And they talked a lot about how like mindfulness or mindless behaviors were a lot of these negative behaviors. They were attributed to being mindless and kind of like the automaticity of the mindless behaviors because we kind of live in a mindless society. So it's a very hard cycle to break because it's so normalized to be distracted by everything else, and it's not very normalized to be completely present all of the time. You got your phone, you got the TV, you're listening to music, there's all these other things that you're paying attention to. So then they talked about how mindfulness could impact all of these, and whenever they were using mindfulness to help with being withdrawn or disengaged, it would help them be able to pay more attention to their kids and know what their hopes, needs, and aspirations were. And it's very important for these people to be able to practice it daily so that they are very in tune and engaged with their kids' lives and being able to foster a relationship with their kids. When talking about the levels of positive parenting, it benefited because of it would help to reduce these mindless thoughts and actions that cause the negative parenting behaviors. So inherently, since you're reducing the amount of negative parenting behaviors, they are also increasing the amount of positive behaviors that they are having. So they're able to take the time to make sure that their actions are positive, and it's in that way they are also making sure that they are paying attention to their kids and not negatively impacting them. And then with the poor supervision or not monitoring them, they're able to connect with the present and be more in tune with how like their kid is doing and what they can do to actually help improve their kid's life. And then lastly, with the inconsistent disciplining, if they're not able to be present all of the time, then they're not going to know when exactly all of the time they need to discipline their kids. So if they're in tune with their kids and able to be like focus all of their attention on them, then they are able to be more aware of what's going on in their kids' lives and be able to react appropriately to it.
Do you know why sometimes parents react in the negative way when the children act up?
Well, I believe it's kind of like whenever we were talking about emotional regulation. So they're not thinking, they're more like reacting than thinking first. So these parents, like something bad happens and they don't take a moment to think about the situation and then recognize their own thoughts and feelings, and they're not able to regulate that instead of just immediately reacting to something that their kid has done.
Now, let's say after staying in school to study for the whole day, you be exhausted, right? Let's when you get home, it's just your younger siblings somehow they chase after each other, right? They make the noises because they have fun, right? And you tell them, hey, stop. Yeah, I need time to rest myself, but they keep messing around. Even your sibling is not easy to deal, right? Not
Yeah.
talking about now you're still in school, not about when you get back from work. Seriously, you work from 8 to 5, you so exhausted. after work, and when you go home and your children run around, chases after each other, throw things around the house, mess up, and so forth and so forth. You keep yelling at them. It's not easy at that time, right? It's not easy to cool down the mind. It's not easy to have positive attitude toward them, right? You could not say calmly to them, right? Not easy. That's why if you don't do any kind of meditation practice, most of the time you would react in a negative way. Either yell to them or slam the table and so forth to pay attention. You may not have any anger toward them, but you just want to bring that attention to them so that they can stop. But sometimes you have to put it harder, and it may irritate them, or and somehow if you at that moment you may not control your anger about your own children too, right? So, yeah, meditation is so helpful for you to repair now. Yeah, and there's many different factors too. Here, let me share with you. In 2022, that's mean this year, first marriage still end in divorce at the rate approximately 35 to 50%. Right? And while second marriage is even higher, from 60 to 70%. And probably you look in your family and you may look around and you may know. So sometimes it's not easy. So later on you may be single parents, especially lady, right? So you have to take care of your children by yourself. It's a lot of stressful situation that you have to deal with. And in the family you may have take care of your spouse children too, right? It's very complicated. I met so many families that they have step brother, many step brother and sister that live in the house. Sometimes it's not easy to handle, so you need to have that kind of calmness to deal with all kinds of situations at work, at home, especially at the young, especially with the younger children. All right, so thank you, Emily. Number 3, please.
Okay, so question 3 was discuss how mindfulness practice could help lawyers and legal assistants make appropriate strategic decisions, good judgments, positive mood, and enhance performance in problem-solving, negotiation, etc. And so I said, it is very important that when a lawyer or legal assistant is working with a client, they are fully aware of the moment. This is so that they can gather all the information they need to resolve conflicts, such as negotiating a deal or mediating a disagreement. Mindfulness practice is useful in these situations because it helps develop emotional intelligence. And in this way, it helps distance them from thoughts and actions that interfere with making good judgment. For example, acting on impulse, being judgmental of other beliefs and values, and being distracted by insecurities. And all of these things interfere with the decision-making process because they create bias, and that is not favorable for the client or the legal worker. And mindfulness teaches them to have a clearer mind that makes more thoughtful decisions. Furthermore, mindfulness provides ways to cope with the stress of their job. Less stress leads to a more positive mood and better performance. That is what I said.
Thank you. Yeah. Look at this, number 3, right?
Yeah. So with mindfulness, the article defined it as the ability to stay like in the present moment, to direct the attention to the present moment, and to not like have any sort of attention directed towards any of like the senses, such as like sight and smelling and stuff. They're meant to focus, like lawyers, they're meant to focus on the mind and the thoughts that come from being mindful. And in doing so, they have a feeling of firstly just being in the present, and then they also have non-judgmental awareness, which allows them to enjoy the freedom of being able to think more freely and that leads to better performance and in both mediation and negotiation. And then secondly, it allows them to be more ethical in what they do because a non-judgmental mind is free of like feelings like anger or any of that sort, and it allows them to perform their job more ethically. And lastly, it allows them to have what the article defined as a wedge of awareness, which gives them the thought to to think about their decisions before they act on them. And because the law and sort of business world is so fast paced, with this wedge of awareness, it allows them to slow down when they're making their decisions and solving the problems that they're faced with. And thus they can carry out their work better because they don't have that sense of, oh, I'm being so rushed. I have to get this done immediately. And then they put stress on that, which results in them performing it poorly. And then the only other thing I mentioned was that the lawyers engaging in mindfulness, it doesn't only help themselves, it actually helps their clients as well. It allows them to trust them more. It gives them higher satisfaction of the lawyer or the law worker. It allows them to feel less stress as well. And then lastly, it allows them to interact with their own professional work environment better.
Okay. So Emily, what do you take away from this article that you just read?
I think that mindfulness would be useful for everyone working in the legal system, just because when you're working directly with other people and their problems, I think it's really important that you don't bias yourself, because I don't know, it's harder to make really objective decisions whenever you're thinking about your own beliefs and values. And yeah, mindfulness is just very, very useful for that.
It's not easy. It's not easy when we deal with other people. We put aside the bias, right? So somehow that bias and with anything cell is imprinted in our mind. With that kind of habitual pattern, not easy to get it up. Only when we really focus on the present moment, with that kind of non-judgmental attitude, we could solve the problem in the impartial way, right? So look what you get from these articles.
Yeah, so the main thing that I was able to take away was the fact that not only, as I mentioned earlier, not only does meditation and the mindfulness that comes from it, not only does it help the lawyer or the individual or employee themselves, it actually branches off and helps their clients feel less stressed, and it allows them to feel some of the benefits that mindfulness provides as well. That was probably my main takeaway.
Even not talking about the lawyer, right? Even your guy in the daily life, right? Anyone of you go to law school later on? No? Okay, let's say what happened if one day you come across to the situation that your best friends have some kind of argument, has some kind of conflict with someone else. So what's your attitude? What's your first attitude? Look, what's your first reaction when you observe or witness your best friend having conflict, having argument with someone else that you never know? What's your first reaction?
Well, did you say if they're being like angry towards someone else? Is that what you said?
If they have
Yeah.
like a hidden argument.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So what was your first reaction you may think of?
Well, probably the fact that, it gives you a negative sense of feeling towards the other person if they're being, I think you said adamant towards someone else.
But Emily, what's your first reaction if your best friend is having the hidden argument with some stranger, what's your first reaction?
I would wonder why.
And what happened then? You have tendency to
I would probably also be a little angry.
to side with your best friends, right? That's what we call bias there, right? Yeah, so we would not, regardless of the situation, regardless whether your best friends wrong or right, most of the time, for our happy to pardon, whenever we see our best friends, our family members having any kind of argument with other people, we will take side with our best friend, our family member. That's what they call bias there. And we don't know whether those argument, I mean, that their side, their view is right or wrong. But the first instant, the first reaction is that we want to protect our best friends, our family members, our spouse, and so forth. Make sense? So, how about others? How could we stand? How could we stand in an impartial way? How could we step out that kind of argument, even it involved with our best friends, our close relatives? How could we step out that with that? How could we step out of that argument in an impartial way? How? Anyone?
I always like to think that there are there are three sides to every story. So party A side, party B side, and then the actual truth. I'm at a point in my life now where if like one of my best friends were getting into an altercation or an argument with somebody, I'm not necessarily going to be on their side if I know they're in the wrong. So I think I can put my personal bias aside and be able to listen to both parties to see what they have to say and kind of act as like an in-between mediator. That's what I try to do.
Okay. Yeah. It's not easy, right?
It's not easy.
Step aside when you have someone close to you, when you have someone that you love, you like to protect, right?
Yeah, like if I wasn't like in high school still or something, or even like early adulthood, like I would probably like fight someone for my friend, not physically, or maybe. But yeah, I would stand right by my best friend. But if they're in the wrong, I'm gonna hold them accountable.
It's not easy
No.
to hold them accountable when they are best friends, when they're your father, when they're your even siblings, right? Not easy. That's why somehow we need to train our mind and have that kind of impartial view, impartial attitude, reaction toward any situation. All right, so thank you. Amber, number 4, please.
Yeah, so question 4 said, explain why mindfulness tends to foster ethical behavior. So with mindfulness and practicing mindfulness, it helps teach us how to be aware of our own thoughts and feelings and emotions and be able to take a step back from it and look at it non-judgmentally. And so with doing that, with being able to take a step away from what you're experiencing, you are able to recognize and learn what reasons or why you are feeling a certain way or having this certain thought, whether it's a good or bad reason, and you can figure out your intentions behind those thoughts. So for example, if someone is talking to you and you guys get into an argument, then you will feel angry, and your first thought will probably be, I want to fight back. I want to like continue this argument so I can be right. With mindfulness, you can take a step back away from that thought and that feeling of anger and look at it non-judgmentally and realize the reason I'm feeling this way is because they're arguing with me. And really, I don't want this. I want this to be resolved peacefully. So you can, once you make that realization of why you are feeling a certain way, you can change how you act towards other people and act more effectively with them instead of furthering the argument or being more angry by acting on your emotions instead of just realizing why you're feeling that way. And with having that awareness and understanding of your own emotions and feelings, you can also have that awareness of other people's emotions and feelings. And since you have that awareness, you can act towards them more compassionately, you can be more empathetic towards them because you have more understanding of why they feel a certain way. And also with mindfulness practice, it encourages more positive qualities like honesty, fairness, and as I said earlier, empathy and compassion. So with that mindfulness, we're learning to, we are better able to act to others how you would want them to act towards you and have everything fair and take effective action towards anything that's upsetting to you or making you angry.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Scarlett.
Yeah, so I said that mindfulness helps us become more aware of our own thought processes and the intentions behind our acts. So we think about what we're going to do more often. It also helps us see our interconnectedness with others. And this means that we're able to observe our own suffering, which helps us be aware of other people's suffering. And then I said that during the calm deliberation process of mindfulness, we're more likely to remember and hold our ethical values and our morals that we find just most important in our lives and more likely just to carry them out. And then I said that mindfulness helps us develop an equanimity, so a calm composure, which also just promotes better decision making in stressful situations. And then it could lead professionals to adopt kind of an orientation or perspective of respect towards others. And then lastly, I said that it just produces compassion and a desire to reduce the suffering in ourselves, which in turn helps us want to reduce the suffering of others.
In the articles, you guys recognize the authors mentioned about the what they call the minimal standard for the golden rules and the aspirational standard. You know about that? What's about Amber? What's about the minimal standard of golden rules?
Yeah, so with the golden rule, it states that you should treat others as you would want to be treated.
Okay.
So saying that you wouldn't treat someone badly because you wouldn't want them to treat you badly. It wouldn't be fair for either person.
Okay. Scarlett?
The way I read it, I was thinking that when you're less kind of about yourself, when you separate yourself from the situation, you would tend to look towards what other people think as well. So the kind of the common moral standards of society, I guess you're more likely to try to achieve that and less likely to kind of think of your own selfish desires.
Here, let me share with you this one, what they call the minimal standard, the least we can do to avoid behave unethically, like stealing, killing, and so forth. That's the minimal standard. And the more aspirational standard is urge to extend our help to others. That's mean to step out our shell to help others. So those are the golden rules. And in this article, we talk about how we utilize mindfulness practice to enhance the minimal standard or even to enrich the aspirational standard too. For example, right, when we mindful, like Bob you say, right, we recognize the suffering of others, right? Let's say when you drive your car around downtown Louisville or Jeffersonville, you may see some homeless people lying down on the road, right, on the street. You have the kind of compassionate thought to share with them. Even let's say they put their bike around, or even they put their cell phone around, you would not dare to steal from them, because you know they're suffering. And right, so with this type of awareness, with this kind of mindfulness, is so helpful for us to follow our we can say minimal standard, and to increase our aspirational standard by helping others. You know, again, without mindfulness practice, Amber, is that easy for us to develop that kind of compassion without mindfulness?
I think without mindfulness, it'd be very hard to develop compassion for yourself and for other people because you don't have that awareness.
Point. About Scarlett, what do you think?
I agree. I don't think it would be easy at all. I think it'd be very challenging to kind of separate yourself from others and the situation. And yeah, like she was saying, just develop that awareness of everything surrounding you.
So let's say you park your car, right? You just open the door, and somehow someone just drove the car and hit the door, and they call the police, and they say that you open the door and slam their car. I mean, they blame on your mistake, not they don't accept their mistake. So what should you do in that situation? What should you do then? Any idea? Look, what it happen? Sometimes it's happened to you guys this way, this situation yet? Not yet, right? Look, what should you do then? Their mistake, but they blame on you. We cannot hear you. Sorry. Look.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
I mean that, let's say you park your car, okay, in the parking lot, and somehow you just open the door so that you can step out of the car, but somehow one guy drove the car and hit your door because your door is open. Now, police they say that because you opened the door, that's why it hit his car. Instead of admitting his mistake, he blamed on you. What should you do?
Well, probably first and foremost, I mean, I would try my hardest to, you know, keep it under control, because obviously if you know something wasn't your fault and they're saying it wasn't theirs and that you would be responsible for like paying the damages of the accident or whatever, you know, that probably wouldn't make anyone very happy. So I think the very first thing would be to do that. But otherwise, more importantly, probably just being able to, you know, talk with them and say, oh, hey, you know, I understand that it was more or less, you know, my action in opening the door for them to hit the car or my car. So
you accept that? Yeah, you accept that even therefore it's not your fault. You accept that? Oh, you would accept and move on, right? But Chelsea, would you accept that even their mistake, they blame on you?
I believe just because you're a kind person or you're practicing mindful behaviors doesn't mean you should let yourself get abused and walked over. So I don't think you should just let it happen. But if there's no way for you to, I guess, prove your innocence, there's no point being angry about it for weeks and weeks and forever. But at the same time, you shouldn't just be like, oh, okay. I guess it is my fault just because I feel like conflict is necessary in life. You're going to have conflict with people. And that's just one of those instances where, yeah, you shouldn't get mad and start screaming and throwing punches, but you also shouldn't just like let it happen to avoid conflict.
Especially there's no witness around. There's no camera, right?
Mhm.
Right. So only both of you, right? Either they blame on you or you accept, or either you blame on them, and so it's not easy. So no one could see the truth, but accept both party. So, Amber, how could you deal with that situation?
Well, I would definitely be angry that this was happening. So my first step would probably try to calm myself down so I don't act unrationally and make the matter worse by either like getting into a fight with the other person or possibly damaging any other cars. So once I've managed to calm myself down and accept the fact that I'm angry and that this is happening, I would try to talk to the other person and see if we could work something out and I can try explaining that, hey, my car door was open. I'm sorry about that, but you drove into me and it hit the car door. So it's kind of both of our faults, and try to just negotiate it and talk it out and try to avoid getting the police involved at all costs. But if the police do arrive, I would try to do the same thing with them of trying to explain what happened and just keep everything under control and try to work something out so the blame isn't totally on me.
And that's one of the example, right? In life, right? Sometimes we innocent, right? People blame on us, right? People blame they missed it on us. All right. So Scarlett, is that happened to you? Sometimes they blame on you because of their mistake has happened.
I
Do you-
can't think of a situation in my life that it's happened, but it seems like familiar to me. So I feel like I can really put myself in that situation, and I think I would be very angry, and I think that's okay. I think there's a element of mindfulness of accepting and recognizing that, hey, it is normal to feel those emotions after something like that happens. But then, like Amber and everyone was saying, just making sure you don't react to those emotions and make matters worse.
Remember, most of you still single. When you get married, right? You live with your partner, right? With your spouse. There's many, you look at your parents, right? Sometimes your parents may blame each other, right? And this will happen to you, whether you accept or not, whether you want to negotiate, whether you want to solve the problem in the peaceful way or calm way. It's just your choice, and probably you may not control other party, right? So, Lexis, this happened to you in similar case of that before?
I don't think something exactly like that has happened before, but there's like, I mean, I understand, like, I can't pick like a certain like one instance, but it definitely also feels familiar to me. Um, I think that this maybe an example was we were doing like a simulation in class and something got messed up, and I don't know who messed it up, but my partner started coming at me and trying to say that it was my fault. And what I did in that situation, because I was pretty sure that I didn't mess it up, that it was just kind of like part of the situation that was happening, like it was supposed to happen in the simulation, and it wasn't like one of our faults that it happened, is I just kind of tried to like redirect the emotions towards fixing it instead of being like, well, no, it was actually your fault. You're the one who did it, and not being confrontational about it, and more like, well, how about instead of trying to figure out exactly who did this, let's try to fix it instead.
Okay. Brandon, are you teaching now? Are you teaching middle school student now, right?
Yes, yes, I am.
Yeah, let's say if you have some favorite student, right? They straight A, they listen to you most of the time, so
Yeah.
forth. But what happened? They blame on each other mistake. how could you be impartial?
So they blame each other. Is that what you're saying?
Mhm. Yeah, if even I mean if both of the student are the best student, how could you?
That's hard. Yeah, that is hard. I mean, because like, I mean, as a teacher, I have to be impartial. Like, I can't pick favorites or a side. So, like with the people having like a disagreement, like with my students, you know, we gotta hear both sides, and like, how can we work together to find the solution? Because I found that being pretty solution based in my teaching has been really good for a lot of the drama, because middle school is tons of drama, and by working together to hear both sides and then coming together to find a solution, I think that would help.
Mhm. Okay, thank you, Emily. If someone blame on your someone blame their mistake on you, how can you handle? You accept that?
Usually, whenever that happens, I try and find like all the evidence that I can to prove that I didn't do it. But I'm kind of an argumentative person, so it usually turns into an argument, and I'm trying to work on that. But if something like that happened right now, it would probably turn into an argument.
Mhm. You accept that or no? If there's no witness, if there's no camera around, only you and that person who blame on you about the mistake.
I probably would not accept it.
Really? Okay. But when like in that situation, the police came and they blame on you, and if the police listen to them, not you, and they write your ticket because of your mistake, but it's not that they're the other party. You've been to the court? Really? Okay, not easy. Yeah, actually, it happened to me a few years ago like that, but I have no choice to accept that. It's not easy in our life, right? We got blamed from someone else. They want to play about the blaming games. Sometimes we can solve, we can negotiate, but for some people, it's not easy. Especially we have all kind of people out there, right? Anyway, so that's all now. Okay, so I will see you on this Saturday.